All right. So let's do it. Hold on. Oops. All right, got it. I just want to cover the name. All right. Excuse me. So weird. Sneezing today. All right. All right. So, oops. March 12th, few days before me. Nice, nice. 29-degree Mercury retrograde in Pisces, ruler of the chart. Oh. Okay. Moon. So you got some Aries moon. Hmm. So first thing I'd say is that I see a lot of moon score Neptune, and moon in Aries is moon in Aries people on some level, they have this internal need for um independence and for doing things in their own way. They don't want to, and they need a level of excitement as well in their life. Novelty. I think any fire moon can be emotionally impulsive. Anger can be a theme that a lot of Aries moons have to figure out how to divert. With Pisces sun, though, that is an advantage. Um, because you sort of have the best of both worlds, but that can also be difficult because, um, as you know, one side is very on it physical, and the other side is very empathetic. Wants to sit around and meditate all day, and and just more introverted. I'm reading what you sent me right now. Hmm. All right. Well, there's definitely something with this with Neptune right now and in your chart. You have you've been having it square your sun for a while, and or conjunct your sun for a while. It's probably mostly over by now, but it's headed towards your Mercury. And have the moon square at natal. um I often tell people with this, regardless of moon sign, that they tend to take on a lot of the energy of their mother. It's not always mother, but of one parent. A lot of times it's like some type of negativity, um something that they took on. Like, a lot of times I talk to people who have this, um where the mother kind of had bad attitudes, and those just found their way to the kid. And it's like, I think with moon square Neptune, more than any other placement, it is so important to be able to be conscious of what you're taking on from your mother psychologically. um I've seen way too many instances that go the wrong way, and the person is, later in life or whatever, and they are just realizing, like, oh shit, like, I took on this sadness, I took on this, this or that negative emotion, from my mom, or early nurturing in general. So there is a lot of deconditioning that's needed. You're from India. I'm not sure where you live now. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if you lived far from India. Um, I think also with Mercury, I can't get this thing microphone, whatever. But I think just in general, um, 29-degree Mercury, I've always seen that as is quite a powerhouse, on the mental level. And to have it retrograde in Pisces is just like so creative. um Chiron in Gemini is expected, could have you feeling quite misunderstood, um especially early on, where you might feel like it's very difficult to get through to, or it may have been very difficult to get through in your language, which is very, very, naturally different, right? Like, as the Pisces is, and the Mercury in Pisces is. So it's not rare that I see that, right? That I see it a good amount. And when you have Gemini, which is about communication, and as your sign of Chiron, that most people with that have had the experience I talked about before, of being pushed in their minds, the idea of being pushed in their minds that something is wrong about the way that they think, or the way that they speak, or whatever, right? And it's like this journey to figure out, like, all right, it's nothing wrong with me. Put this away because I cannot figure it out. So yeah. As I was saying, though, a good mix of, water, fire, air. Earth is lacking with the North Node in Earth, so that sounds familiar. Um, 12th house. Interesting. Yeah, so a lot of people with this type of arrangement, they, especially Pluto on this on the south node in the sixth, like, yeah, they had to really go through some crazy times. They had to really grow up and see the darkness within their own family, within their just this just the overall psychology of their upbringing. There's usually this sort of darkness to it. Let me turn this off. So yeah, whenever I see North Node in Taurus, I instantly think like, okay, this person is here to find peace in their human body in this lifetime. They probably have had past lives that were very, very intense, and they're here to kind of, chill in a way. Um, but that can be difficult because the soul is used to Scorpio, right? And Scorpio can be crises, and um, I think with Taurus, with anything on that axis, there is a need to let go in general. But the letting go for Taurus could be more of a letting go of drama, of um, compulsory, just different compulsions and habits, psychological habits, and just being mindful and just being kind of mindful and chill, relaxed. Um, so as you grow older, you become more grounded in your on a physical level. Um, I think another big lesson with that one is is about valuing yourself and just the self-esteem and all that being very important, stability. The thing is, with a Neptune energy, it can create a lot of confusion mentally and just emotionally also. And what you know with that moon, there can be two different people. There can be one person who has very good mothering, right? And um like, I guess what I'm trying to say is that the way you're mothered is extremely important, right? It's like, it's obviously important for everyone, but when you have moon square Neptune, it's super, super important, like mega, mega important, because you would have, you're a sponge for energy. So you would have taken on a lot of the negative stuff early on, even as like a baby. Hmm. So, mhm. See. I think one thing with North Node and Scorpio is that they can sometimes become too comfortable with crisis, too familiar with it, um, which can make it really tough for them to trust, and especially trust themselves. So, like, Taurus is also about self-discipline, persistence. So, yeah, I, yeah, I mean, like with Pluto and Scorpio, like Pluto on the South Node, it makes me think of past lives of, just big, big goals, or not big, big goals, just, just like, yeah, I mean, there could be like massive power, um, but also just like, yeah, like lots of crisis, lots of like childhood or traumatic experiences from past lives, right? So it can be hard for people with that to trust. And yeah, a lot of times like they growing up didn't necessarily have this very safe environment. So, or like a good example. So yeah, I think Scorpio and Pluto are very unconscious. So part of the south node, the north node goal is to find, bodily groundedness by getting away from, first by gaining awareness of the ways in which you might hold yourself back or self-sabotage or you know, how crisis might come to you or you might come to it. I don't know. So yeah, I think like staying away from drama is huge for North Node and Taurus and just focusing more on yourself. Um, and you get the Scorpio South Node skills of being very good at psychology, understanding the human psyche very well. And yeah, just kind of this very mystical soul energy, right? Um, like you love getting deep within anything esoteric and getting to the bottom of secrets. Find some people just aren't interested in getting deeper in life, but with this you definitely are. Oh. So I think one of the things with South Node in Scorpio sometimes is that there can be too much of a reliance on other people. Taurus North Node is more about depending on yourself and not taking value from how other people see you, but how you see yourself. Um, like yeah, I'd say like Taurus North Node people sometimes define their self-worth too much through others, right? Um, I think also like there's this desire, 12th house, to really merge with others, through service, but also through any kind of spiritual work. And I think that perhaps in the past there was a difficulty in that. Um, it'd be 11th house in Placis, wouldn't it? Regardless, I think that I think that either way, there is a very, very big humanitarian mission for you. Um, and probably on some level, different experiences you're meant to get through before that, go through before that, that might not seem so aligned. But the thing is, with Jupiter right on the midheaven, I mean, there's no better placement for someone who is seen very well, um, who meets the right people, who gets luck in their career. I met people with this who have very successful fathers or just very influential fathers in their lives, like not necessarily like famous or rich or anything like that, but I had met that too. Um, but usually people with that, yeah, and it's in Pisces, yeah, they usually get when they're going the right direction, especially because it's in Pisces. So, your Dharma is linked to helping other people and whatnot. So when you're going in that direction, help will come through people, um, just a deeper understanding, different teachers, um, so many different potential ways, right? So yeah, and on top of that, like just having Chiron so close to the ascendant. I see that it can be difficult early on. It can kind of give the image of someone who has shame, or someone who appears sad or appears hurt. But Chiron in the ascendant or midheaven, it's someone who definitely has this archetype of Chiron, the wounded healer, in their they wear that on their shoulders, is who they are. So to have Chiron rising and Jupiter culminating is sort of letting me know that in some way you're meant to affect people in a very positive, healing way. Um, and with the 11th house, when it comes to Dharma, that can be delayed Dharma, right? It doesn't always come up right away. It doesn't always make sense right away, right? Sometimes it's later in life that people with that find their truest, like they have to, it's a mutable midheaven, Pisces. So it's not surprising to, I'll reread what you sent a little bit, but it's not surprising the idea of having one career and then going to the next. Um, hmm. Interesting. Yeah, so lots of indications in your chart about not having the typical career. Um, some people with that Sun square Uranus, it's like around, like, 52-ish that they really figure things out. Sometimes like 40s. But it's always very specific in terms of their purpose. I would say that square, too. That square is interesting, um, because you have Uranus with Mars in Sag, and right on the descendant, it's like exactly square the Sun. And you know, obviously squares, I don't usually look at them in that way, but seventh to 10th is like, your 10th house Sun is just speaking to the importance of career for you and the importance of fulfilling your Dharma, and that just being the area of life that you shine in, especially with your ruling planet there too, and Jupiter. So when you have that square, your seventh house planets, or yeah, I mean, the descendant, Mars and Uranus, we have to break down, what does that part of the chart mean, right? What does that mean? Well, Mars with Uranus is on its own psychologically, it's very, very, very spiritual, or very, excuse me, very genius, very ingenious. A lot of my clients have Uranus in their chart. Uranus rules astrology, anyways. They have strong Uranus. So Uranus with Mars, right on my moon too. Um, I think, like, it can definitely make someone who wants to express themselves in a very unique way. And what's in the seventh house, that can be with your partners, with your clients. Um, so the clash I could see, and it could even be like Uranus seventh, could be someone who's attracted to, Sag, it could be someone who's attracted to an unconventional, very philosophical type of person, but someone who keeps things interesting. But then, and who, yeah, some they're attracted to someone who really likes to switch things up, doesn't like things boring, right? And then that squares. the Pisces 10th house Dharma, and I would say that that would really be speaking to the importance of having relationships that don't set you away from the Pisces, your Piscesness, because it can be really easy for Pisces sons or anything, right, to sort of give in to partners' energy unconsciously and let themselves sort of fall. And obviously these energies are within you as well. So Mars and Sag with Uranus is not someone that likes to be bored. But any planets in the seventh house, I think of as planets you look for also in other people. And yeah, I just think that those with your Aries moon, right? There can sort of be this clash, right? Which I have as well with Pisces and Sag and Leo, right? Where there's this clash between this very fiery part of part of you, spontaneous, fun, and then this other part that's Pisces, that's kind of like a head case. I don't know how to say it, but that kind of just like prefers to just sit, um, and is very affected by energies, especially with the moon square Neptune, and needs time alone. So a lot of times Mars Uranus people, they just want to go 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 go, right? um and it can be very, yeah, very dynamic, very unpredictable. So I think that um yeah, being able to ground yourself into that Taurus North node is very important, whether it's through yoga, what you eat, your sleep, just your consistency overall. So hmm. But either way, like, that square, I know it well, is the compromise is that both want wisdom, both want, both are Jupiterian, both want that higher knowledge. So they just want it in different ways. Sagittarius is through experience, through adventures, through learning different things, different, Pisces, it's more of a spiritual journey. And let's see, yeah, kind of a mystical spiritual thing where you find it more within yourself. And the ascendant in Gemini is also squaring that. So yeah, I mean, overall, hold on 1 second. All right, I'm back. So yeah, I would say, Gemini rising with somewhat of a T square, honestly. Not a massive one, although there is one with Chiron, Jupiter, and Saturn. Mm. Hmm, hmm, hmm. Well, I do think that there is, that it just does point to a clash, um, where there's you and what you want to achieve, and then there is you, your personality, you in relationships, what you look for in relationships. Um, even with your Juno in Sag, it's interesting. Saturn there. So yeah, that would be my number one concern would be just, and I haven't even like really read through what you sent. Like I usually wait. I mean, I like skimmed it, but I usually like really wait to till later. But that would be my number one thing would be there's obviously a big mission here. A lot of it's very internal with what I was talking about with Taurus North Node. And I think a big part of that is defeating the self, defeating the lower parts of the self. Um, and yeah, I just feel like there can be distractions. And I think that Gem Sag is the axis of learning. So it just puts into perspective how much you're meant to learn from your relationships, but then also the balance between your relationships or between your not single life, between your individual self, right? And you with, let's say, a partner or patience or best friend, whatever. Um, you know, that that's very, very important to look at when you have that much in the first and the seventh. Um, I would ask you the question, do you think that there is a healthy balance in your life between what you're giving and what you're receiving? Um, and yeah, and then I think a lot of times with the Mars seventh house, I've seen that be like a lot of firepower, a lot of assertiveness, a lot of energy put into defining relationships. But usually that's more like early in life, like mid 20s, early 20s, they start to mature. Um, but there can be codependency. But obviously with Uranus, it's going to be a very kind of different um, energy that you're looking for. But yeah, I think that would be like the first thing for me is like, are you still like, I think that your partnerships and the people you surround yourself with, you have to be really selective. Um, you're someone, like I said, who not just from your mom, but from other people you meet who can take in energy very easily. And the energy vampire types can be very, very bad for you. And with the Pisces sun and the Uranus and the Neptune energy, Neptune square, yeah, there can be a very chameleon-like energy, right? And you're mutable ascendant. So yeah, there's definitely an ability to go with the flow. So boundaries are really important when you lack earth in your chart and having firm boundaries with people. Um, it can be very difficult when you have Neptune doing what it's doing to see the self in an accurate way. Um, there can be and it's really through acts of service, through spirituality, through art or um I would actually, more than that, I would just say like through um opening oneself up energetically, which could be um for example being vulnerable, um doing things for work or just in general that make them feel connected and like where they're not like losing that feeling of oneness with all with God and all there is. Um, so yeah, I think just really like with the moon where it is, there's a massive importance for you to find the right people. Um, whether it's organization, friend group, whatever. And people who you have a close emotional connection with, and it's almost like they can become your family in a sense, like friends. And then also those same people can help you move towards the big goals that you have. Let me see. Yeah. So you said draining career. So yeah, for Pisces, yeah. So that's the thing, right? Is that for a Pisces, it's never gonna, it's always gonna be really, really hard to be, I mean, when you said draining, especially with the moon square Neptune, the amount it's probably taken out of you is probably more, way more than it's taken out of the average person, right? Or let's say someone who's like all earth. Um, those types of careers are made for certain people. Um, or I guess some people are able to work within them better. But when you have Pisces as your sun and your moon, good luck. you know, just the ebbs and flows of every day are going to be very, very intense. And I think that that's the test, right? With the midheaven Pisces is and Jupiter there, right? Because I've already told you Jupiter is telling me that when you're headed and on Fomalhaut, very lucky star. So I think you will be supported. It's just that God doesn't always make it so obvious. Like to think, for example, that you'll start the soul, what if your soul is really, really, really meant to do it, you'll know very quickly, like your thought will be like, no matter what, I don't give a shit, like I don't care. This is what I'm doing. And I know that like you said, that there's different things that can get in the way of that. And it sucks, right? Because you want to be able to take your time and not force things and not have it be about money. But then unfortunately it sort of has to in some ways, right? So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that I always have trouble when it comes to telling people, quit your money maker. I mean, you know if it makes sense, right? Hmm. So your husband is emerging. Hmm. Well, I would also say that you're most likely emerging from a dark night of the soul, um, or at least one version, a confused night of the soul, because you had your ascendant square Neptune, Mars, and then your sun conjunct it. So yeah, it's still going to conjunct Mercury, but you know, it's mostly done. So things will probably make a lot more sense, and action will probably be a lot more easy to undertake. Um, hmm, yeah, I think I would just say I would just say that a lot of what I see around money is just the link between metaphysical, what you do metaphysically, and what you get back, and truly, truly understanding that. Because I think a lot of people, and myself included, right? Like it's very easy to to say, to hear someone talk about that concept of, okay, I will eventually get what I put in, right? But we're humans, we have bills to pay each month. Um, so I understand that question. Um, well, you said balancing the money and power dynamic with my husband, especially as I shift career paths and probably drop my income. Well, I mean that goes into your guys' relationship. Um, obviously, right? If he is supporting you in this, right? Not, I mean, there's two different types of supporting. Well, there's many different types. There's two that I'm going to talk about. There's supporting, and then there's like full on supporting. And if he is like really like about that, if he's really about what you're doing and has a spiritual side, and he can, if he can understand like that it isn't just overnight success typically. um I think that is really where it's at. But yeah, I mean, like balancing the money and power dynamic with my husband, especially as I shift career paths. I mean, that makes me think that you're going from like a more 50-50 esque, something like that, which, yeah, to you know, where it would be mostly him. And then you're wondering like um how to go about balancing that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think like I think that's something that can only be under, comprehended between you two, understood between you two. Um, but Venus. Mm, mm, mm. I don't know. I mean, it's really hard to answer that without being in your situation. There's too many variables. Um, like for example, if you're in a situation where, let's say, it's already like a struggle, um, like you live in like San Francisco or something like that, and it's just like insane rent. It's a lot different than if you live somewhere where his income is easily enough and that you've saved. There's just so many things. But when it comes to power dynamic, I mean, I think that if like, what you think he's gonna power trip, or like I don't know, that one's tough to answer because a lot of families and relationships, like my girlfriend makes no money, and it's not even like a sexist thing. It's like I don't like, she's in school, but um I think as a man, I mean, everyone's different. If you have kids, for example, I think most men would prefer I mean, I would imagine most men would prefer their wives to be around the kids than work. Maybe I'm just conservative in that sense, but I mean, I don't know. It depends what the wife does, if it really, really makes her happy. But like work like out and have to hire nannies and all that. But if there's no kids, I think that just seeing her if he's I feel like just seeing you onto something and really taking the right steps, um something you're really passionate about. If you I don't know, if he cares, really cares, then he'll know and um be willing to kind of stick with you for that time. But like that, like I said, like I don't know the guy, so maybe he's coming out of the dark night of the soul. And that makes me think that he's gonna be good in that realm. All right. So yeah. I would say that's another very south node in Scorpio, it's conjunct Pluto type thing is these power struggles, right? These sort of ego driven power struggles and being able to rise above them. Um, because it is very Scorpio South Node to kind of get into these power struggle type relationships. So I think that North Node Taurus is just about being able to be balanced with your communication and be with someone that balances you, that grounds you. And sometimes South Node in Scorpio, I think also they can they can have issues letting go of relationships, even if they're unhealthy. I'm not saying anything about yours. Just saying it's something I've noticed. Um, so yeah, that's just one thing to note. Let's see here. Yeah, I definitely think the universe will support you if you work hard, but like it's not always like so it doesn't always it's not always how you think it will be, right? Like for me, I it took me many years, before I hit some level of consistency. And um, you know, I had a backup plan the whole time, and I think that allowed me to take some pressure off. But I think it's really tough. I I don't feel like I would like it doesn't feel good to be in the shoes of someone who is sort of like doing a spiritual type of, I guess, like practice or, you know, astrology or whatever it is. And they have to like have some level of, they almost like have to have it be financially viable in a certain amount of time because it just doesn't, I don't know. I'm not saying it's not possible. It is. I've seen it, but at least for me personally, like I just like to kind of go with the flow and let things come as they come. Um, and then I've definitely seen some people who I can tell are sort of forcing it. So yeah, I don't know. I just think it depends. It depends what it is. Depends how good you are at it. All that. But I think if you love it, you won't care. For me, I didn't care if it was never going to be a consistent thing for me or not, and I just kept going. And then it was. So God tests in those types of ways. Um, so yeah, he'll really test and really make you show that you really love it. But okay. So mm, yeah, so the Aries moon, Pisces sun with the moon and Venus, moon with Venus, square Neptune. It's very interesting. The sun square Uranus and Mars. You gotta just break yourself down into parts, you know? That's ultimately what it is. You have Pisces part. Um, the part that wants to sit around, meditate, not be around people all day, that gets drained easily. Yeah, empathetic, sponge of energy. Then you'll have, the Aries moon that's complemented by the gem rising and all the Sag energy. And I see that it's very similar to my chart. And I've seen other charts like this, right? Where it's like, yeah, there are Pisces, but then everything else is way more masculine, way more. So it's like you have one or two placements, your Sun and Mercury, like me, that work well, that are very spiritual, very deep. And then the other ones are way more in the material world, especially if you're a Gemini rising, which also Gem risings tend to stay looking younger for longer and have that youthful energy. I always like talking to them. They also like to talk to. Um, just I think that's sort of one of the parts, right? Where it's like Pisces and then Aries moon, emotionally independent, emotionally impulsive, pioneering, wants to do things their own way, doesn't want to be told to do shit. And then Gemini, just wants to explore. And Sag just wants to explore. So the fact that they square the Pisces part, which is ultimately your dharma, it's like in your personal life, you're gonna be a very explorative person, right? But then within these explorations, you're gonna have periods where you're gonna want, especially, yeah, with the Neptune and with the 12th house North Node, you're gonna have times where you're not meant to always be around people, right? Like, in fact, it's very, very good for you to have time alone. Could be one of the most valuable things is to understand that and to really be good at feeling into your energy when you've had too much of a person or a place, situation, being able to kind of feel into that and go into your own energy and then be alone and be like, okay, now this is gone. So this is what this person made me feel like, right? Or this is what this person's energy brought to me. So yeah, that is always very interesting. Also filming yourself can be huge. For Pisces Neptunians. Yeah, filming yourself, affirmations in the mirror. Neptune rules cameras, so it can be very easy, a lot easier, because there can be some confusion around understanding the emotions with the Neptune. Um, but yeah, the way I've seen this aspect play out with people is I see sometimes people who have it and they're very empathetic always, but they're afraid to like chase a career in like something healing, even though that's like what they're passionate about, because they'll say something like, "Oh, I feel too intensely," like I can't deal with it, so, like other people's suffering is too much for me. And it's true that the square with the moon does have that effect, and it can make the energetic boundaries very, very thin, and you can be affected. So like in those types of careers, there can be a level of burnout, of energetic burnout for sure. But I've also seen people who, and I think like the biggest factor I've seen is people who are able to get good at talking about being vulnerable, I guess, about their emotions, which is what I'm saying with like the whole video camera filming yourself. You don't have to like show anyone. Those are the people, not just who do that, but people who are able to express that side of them. They tend to do a lot better because even as a Pisces, you can still hide, like keep a lot of shit in. So yeah, I think with relationships, being able to show that soft, impressionable, that soft side, that Piscean side is very important. I mean, it's almost paramount because yeah, sometimes Pisces in relationships they need a lot more space than the average person. Um, yeah, and even just like yeah, sharing your sufferings with other people as well, right? Um, it kind of removes a lot of that shyness that can bring to someone. And like I said, if there wasn't like a horrible relationship with the mother early on, or like let's say really stressed out or really sad or really angry mom, not even necessarily at you, right? If that wasn't the case, then you know, then it's not it doesn't become as difficult of an aspect, but often it is. And psychologically, I would say Neptune is a planet of fog. And if you think of Neptune square moon, just in general, having that natally is just this confusion. And I think there's like this constant need to only look at things 6 feet ahead, right? No more than that. Like when you're driving through fog in a storm, in a fog, there's lots of fog, you just look 6 feet ahead only, right? Because you can't like, and if you try to turn the lights on in that fog storm, you can't even see, you can see less, right? So it's a good mantra to have. Obviously, it gets easier the older you get, but yeah, I would say that's a good one. That's one I heard lately. I really, really liked about Neptune. 6 feet ahead only, because we can get so caught up in the future, the potential, the potential. It's just way easier to just say screw it. I I admit I don't know right now, and that's fine. Um, I love Moon conjunct Venus people, especially Aries Moon, which I get so many Aries Venus clients. It's crazy. I think it adds a level of graciousness and calm, like it kind of soothes the very dynamic Aries Moon, and yeah, it's a nice one to have for sure. Um, creates like kind of an emotionally gentle person. So Aries moons can sometimes be just like way on it, and usually they are regardless, right? But I think it would give you a lot of tact and diplomacy to be able to get your point across. Let's see. But yeah, big time like relationships are, romantic relationships are a huge area of your life where you learn a lot of karmic lessons. Vertex 29 degrees, Libra with the South Node. So yeah, lots of very karmic relationships, and Saturn with Juno in right, on the descendant to me is someone who wants a partner who is very adventurous, but also has their shit together and is someone that they can respect and someone who can be very consistent. But yeah, with Sagittarius, Juno, I think of Juno as what, a lot of people marry people who have their Juno sign, or people who, so yeah, sometimes people with that, it's like someone from a different culture or someone who on a philosophical level can really help them grow. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of interesting romance karma, because you have Venus squaring Neptune, which to me is always difficult, especially for a Pisces, because you want to be very careful of who you let in, how fast you let them in. It can be the rose-colored glasses in love, and I think that it can create disillusionment where, there's a potential of seeing someone as way better than they are at the start. And then over time, things kind of even out and they realize like shit, like I jumped too fast into that. They sometimes refuse to see false red flags, negative things that they should look at. So obviously with age it gets easier, but yeah. Okay. By the way, you're my first ever recorded reading with my new mic, so congrats. Check. What noise is? That'd be so sad. Test, test, test. So good. Okay. Um, I know I could pause. I just like to do this. The ideas just come to me. Mm, 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 mm. Yeah, I just think that you're a channel for, you are a channel for cosmic energy. And Mercury in Pisces is your ruling planet, 29 degrees retrograde is so it just stands out in your whole chart. It's like the thing that stands out. Which by the way, your Mercury is conjunct my sun and my Mercury. I have a 20, mine are 28 Kazemi. They're like stuck together. But yeah, like there can be some difficulty, especially like with in the material world in your day-to-day job, right? Because you have such a genius abstract mind. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying about your Chiron, where I imagine that you have learned and realized some things that are just insane. Like your level of wisdom and understanding is just so crazy. But I imagine you don't get respect for it. I imagine that you're probably seen as the black sheep. I mean, maybe not in your own family, but perhaps just in general. Um, and maybe on some level, you don't feel like you get enough recognition for your intelligence, right? Which is, like I said, I see so many clients with Chiron, like you have it, right? And you know, I always look when I see Chiron. Whenever I see an interesting Mercury, especially one conjunct Venus, 29 degrees, but it's in a debilitated sign, and it's retrograde already too, right? So it's just like it's such an abstract brain and such a internal mind. Um, there is a chance of that sort of ruminating energy, um, where one go like has to get kind of uh, a grip over their minds, because they can have a tendency to go over too many things from the past, and even past lives. There can be this tendency to cling on to, or to put different energies, how do I say this? Like basically to project energies of people from their past lives onto people in their current lives. It's this very interesting thing with Mercury retrograde, that like for example, let's say someone, okay, no, I said that incorrectly. Let's say that let's say that your sister, your boyfriend, or whoever, let's say your sister, your brother, let's say that in this life they're them, but you talk to them like a past life version of themselves. Like I've seen this with myself. Actually, my brother, he has Mercury retrograde. He's a very good example of this. And I've often on an energetic level, not as much now, but before, like thought, like considered, like, when I was learning about this, I was like, it seems like he's talking to like a past life version of me on a super conscious level. And because like everyone else talks, like sees me in a different way, and yeah, it's a sibling, but like, you know what I mean. I think that that is something that happens a lot with Mercury retrograde people. But I would say that that Mercury at the last degree of the zodiac in retrograde, it is quite it is just very powerful. But it's about finding like for example, it might not be so good at school stuff. It could be, right? I don't ever try, like, you're Gemini and all that Sag, and it is the, I'm not saying that that's the case, right? But it could be very easy for someone with that to be so maybe shy, or just like have these ideas that are so spiritual and out of pocket, because really, like Mercury and Pisces, it's like the connection between this realm and the other realms, right? You are the connection. So that's why I think with your work, if you're adding that into your work, it's brilliant, right? Yeah, Mercury Pisces people, especially late degree, we are the connection. We are the connectors, right? We know we're able to take from downloads unconscious, and give people what they need to hear. So that's the challenge with your with the pain, or that's the pain I see there, is maybe as you're growing up, not really seeing, not really, yeah, maybe not getting reinforcement in your environment, um of your intelligence, and maybe that made you hold yourself back, or doubt your own ability of your own intellect, or your own, it could also be a communication issue, right? Sometimes Chiron rising people get bullied when they're younger. So that's another big purpose of this chart, is finding that. um so yeah, once again, like I want to be very, very clear with the question you asked me, that you are okay, I haven't looked at a picture, but I never do this, but I just felt like I just want to look at her IG. Human design, Akashic records, trauma informed. I love it. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll send you a follow too. So I didn't look at anything. If I see a photo, it can throw me off a little bit. Um, but yeah, like that's spot on. And the world that we're entering, um, starting in August 2025, astrologically, but really it's already started, you know? It's like, what's that noise? This kombucha. There's going to be a lot more demand for this type of stuff, right? And with your Jupiter on the midheaven, you are supported 1,000%. You have your Instagram, how long have you been posting on it? Yeah, so like 400 posts. I mean, so you've been doing it for a minute. Um, so yeah, don't worry. Like there's like people love human design, and it's amazing. So I think yeah, your chart's made for that, and you will receive downloads from, in respect to your human, like to your clients, right? Because you have a bunch. Seventh house also rules clients. So right. So this also rules clients. So um I think that yeah, you could be someone who Mars descendant, who gets, who gets a lot of clients and who's able to liberate their clients. Um and people from all over the world. And yeah, I mean, all you gotta talk about is Jupiter midheaven. That's it. It's simple, right? Like when you yes, because it's a mutable midheaven, you are meant to do the work that you've done before now. Um, it's all part of the process. And I think some people are meant, like there's just different reasons people are meant to do things, right? Um, but yeah, in Pisces on Fomalhaut, one of the four royal stars. I mean, yeah, you will get what you deserve, and you will be seen. This is really, really good too. It's very good for fame, or just like success in on social media, success in the external world, right? Because you are seen by people as, and yeah, I know Saturn's there right now, but you know, to have Pisces midheaven, that's how you're seen on social media. You're seen as a Pisces, which is obvious. You are a Pisces, right? So that's obviously what you want. You want to be seen as your sun sign or your moon sign, right? Or especially if you're doing what you're doing, you want to be seen by people as Pisces. So that's great. Jupiter, the planet of luck and opportunity and good fortune, and everything optimism, everything great on your midheaven. It does basically say that it's like a guardian angel when you're headed in that high Piscean direction, which is what you're doing. You've already, you're well started. um yeah, it's just about just continuing to just go all in. I mean, if your circumstances allow. And I always do tell people, like, don't let go of your money maker if you can. Like, for example, I had a client the other day who's, doing real estate. She's done real estate forever, and she wants to do kind of like spiritual work. It's kind of complicated to describe what kind, but basically I was like, it could be good to not completely leave it, so everyone has a different financial situation. Um, but if you're able to, screw it, do it. Yeah, I would say with like I forget if you said husband or boyfriend. Um, that like in my, like, to me, I feel like that's how, like, I don't know, that's how you know if someone's really down for you, right? I'm sure you guys have had all the deep conversations. But I think in your case it'd be very difficult if he's applying pressure on you. Yeah. So with health, I would say like the main thing, I'm not a medical astrologer, but I think that everything is psychosomatic. And Aries moons, if they're not able to get that fiery energy out, they can sometimes, like, I've noticed a lot of Aries moons as big stoners, weed smokers, or they just have this fire. But like I said, you have Venus there, which definitely like chills it out already. But regardless, I think that with all that Gemini, all that Sag, I think that you definitely are someone who needs adventure, who needs novelty in your life. But there is that, I think also one thing about the relationship energy is just like making sure to not have an obsession, which I'm like, I should not be talking right now, but it can definitely bring issues with with that, with being settled with like, like with one person and commitment. So, and I am the worst person ever at that. Like I have worst commitment issues, and I'm not like a cheat or anything, but um, yeah, I'm just saying, like with that energy, it can just be really, really tough, and there can be like that grass is green on the other side type thoughts. But back to what I was saying with medical, I think that everything I see is it's just really tying what you're doing, like if you're truly in your dharma, um and like if you're for example, if, with your chart, if you're someone who's overworking, right? Because Saturn in the sixth in Placis, like I always see those people, if they're overworking, then and it's in like the wrong type of thing, that they can get sick or they can get injuries or whatever, right? Things come up. And I think also with Saturn and Sagittarius, a lot of people with that for their first 30 years had some block around them allowing themselves to fully see outside the box or see the big picture, or even travel or see truth, right? Not everyone, but I've noticed that with a good amount of people, that it can be tough in that position. um so yeah, I think that having like a really dialed down routine is important for you. I think, with Scorpio ruling your sixth house, um that it's just like with the South Node and Pluto and Scorpio together, making sure it just goes back to your North Node in Taurus, right? Taurus is all about the body. So just making sure that you're really grounded in your own body. That's mega important, and not just so up in the spiritual, right? And you have your South Node in the sixth, so that's a good indication of someone who's able to set schedules, able to have routines. And yeah, I would say that like the more you clear out psychically, or energetically, um there's a that's there's always going to be that link. So with Pluto there, um I think also like I'm kind of going all over the place here, but like with the sixth house Pluto, I feel like people with that, they seek this sort of intensity in their daily lives. They almost need to go beneath the surface, right? So the work that you'd be doing would be way, way better, and then it all connects to health. But yeah, just like my sense and with what I'm seeing is just that bad things can happen if you're not following your dharma, and if you're not happy, if you're not content, if you're not grateful, psychologically, if you're down, that's when the disease follows. Of course, like with everything, we need, good diet, sleep, all these things, right? um but I mean, I've seen miracles with people, right? That really, really show the importance of this, and not just with also with your relationship, with where you live, with the energy of around you, with your Neptune energy, right? um so yeah, and that brings me back to what I was saying. I go full circle. Boundaries, right? Energetic boundaries are a huge thing for you in this lifetime. And to really go deep within yourself and see, like, in what ways do I embroil myself in dramas? In what ways are there any psychological patterns that are hard for me to see myself, but any cycles that I go in, right? That need to be um, let go of. But once again, to have Neptune from the eighth, right? Neptune in the eighth house rule your sun and all your 10th house Pisces energy, your Jupiter, Sun, Mercury, and midheaven. That's amazing, right? To have all four of those ruled by Neptune, the eighth house. That's one of the best houses you can have Neptune. I think Neptune in the 12th or the 8th, mainly those two. Fourth, you could, yeah, more mainly, I would say mainly those two. Fourth, you get into, yeah, there is some intuitive energy there too, but there's a lot of other themes that come up. So eighth house Neptune, it's like the gates to the unknown are open, and it gives someone an advanced understanding of psychology, and they are able to really, 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 really just get things. It's like this innate spiritual esoteric knowledge. Um, I just freeze my camera. Okay. Yeah. So I would say that Neptune 8th is definitely all about that. Um, but also going back to the subject of love, I think Neptune 8th, it's very romantic. Um, but hmm, I think about this. Because yeah, I see it more in the spiritual sense of like someone who's just like such a strong receptor of this like spiritual energy. But then I think the negative potential is like, yeah, deception or self-deception, I would say, right? Especially with the squares it has to Venus and the moon. So yeah. Also, eighth house like is about like definitely do not get into any debt or take loans on. Like I mean, eighth house Neptune can make those really bad. People can like get into financial situations where they just cannot repay. So just like being very, I think with Venus is how you spend, and Neptune just like the importance of really, really thinking twice before you make any big decisions. Venus and Aries can they can spend money. So it's not bad to spend. It's just like really, really think before, right? Um, but yeah, I mean, this is like, yeah, like I said, like a sponge for occult information. So I think one other thing, um, sometimes people with this, like they have to like real like they have to see in themselves the potential that they have to believe. Sometimes they'll just like believe any theory that they read. Um, I'm not saying that's you, but like I've noticed that, right? They'll just like believe things blindly. So I think, yeah, I think it's important to just really like utilize logic in that sense. I want this to be on the microphone, but anyways, yeah. So that's what I would say about that. Also with respect to spirituality, just any eighth house energy like that, it's like, just making sure that you don't that you don't join forces like with the wrong kind of like culty types. But yeah, I think your Pisces energy would see through that stuff anyways, but just something that I want to add in there. Um, what else? Yeah, and just like in relationships, I guess what I would say is just like, yeah, just like the whole give or take thing, like I was speaking about earlier. Um, there can be like it can create someone who um is used essentially, right? Like who, I'm not gonna say like likes being used, but maybe they unconsciously they put themselves in positions sometimes where they can be used by other people, and especially with the Venus squaring it, it's like they might not like jump. They might not notice. Yeah, it might take them a little bit before they truly notice it, right? I figured it out, I think. So yeah, 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 yeah. I figured it out, I think. Be like, stop doing this. feel like I need to like do stuff with my hands when I'm not need, but I feel like it's like better for me. Which also, with your chart as a Gemini rising, um, Gemini placements like that, it's actually very healing, especially with Chiron there, to do things with your hands, right? Whether it's something artistic, guitar, whatever, painting. Yeah, it's very, very, very good for you to do that. Okay. Fist. So, let's see. Yeah, I would say like also, eighth house is very sexual house too. So Neptune eighth can just create someone who wants to really truly like become one with their partner through sex. Like it can create like a very, deep, intimate type of bond, type of, or just type of, I guess, sexual nature in general. So, yeah. But like a lot of times also they can just be, it's just like with that, because remember, this is a very important planet for you. Like this rules over so much of your chart. So it just goes back to the need, to the importance of alone time, to the importance yes, there is that very romantic, but like not everyone's going to fit that, right? Um, so yeah, and also even with like things like inheritances or other people's money, right? Like through marriage, like there can just be some level of confusion to that. Um, even like, like it also rules, drugs and alcohol, poison, right? So you have to watch out. I would say, like just watch out to not it's better not to use substances, I would say. Um, and yeah, some people with that, like they can really hide different addictions from the outside world. But yeah, it's yeah, I don't know. I think like it just goes back to like just the gates towards the other realms being so open, which is such a gift, but it can like it's like allow it to be a gift, not a gift and a curse, right? I mean, of course, with every gift, comes a curse, but I would say with this one, um, you know, um, like people can get annoyed when they're like, wow, like no, like no one else feels what I feel or sees what I see. It can be very frustrating. Um, but at the same time, yeah, so like on that point, excuse me, on that point, it's just it kind of shows why you can't just like let everyone in, you can't just let everyone in. Let's see the head engine. Yes. You can't just let everyone in. But you know, um, that's just part of the process, right? As a Pisces, is you can't let everyone inside. Learning to distinguish, the good energy person from the bad energy person. Um, and yeah, boundaries. Once again, spiritual boundaries, so important. Um, but I think one of the strengths that it brings to you is just this ability, like I said, to just feel the energy that's the current energy. So yeah. Okay. Um, let's see here. So yeah, I think overall, like, what you're doing now is that you're maneuvering your Mercury from something that um, you know, like you're your mind, you're alchemizing, if that's the right word. You're basically like, shape shifting from potentially that being something that was, you know, not, negative, but like, something that wasn't valued at your old career, perhaps, right? To something that is your biggest asset with what you're doing, with what you're doing now. So that's magic right there, right? But it's very difficult, very, very difficult for people who have these placements, who have like a Mercury like that, like me. It's just really, really hard to have a boss and to be in this, like, it's really, really easy to just see through all the BS and just the monotony of everyday life. And it's not like it completely goes away when you're doing work like this, but it makes it a lot better, I mean, I think that there's aspects of, of being self-employed that are great, or, in like a spiritual entrepreneur, I guess you would say, right? um but there are, I think that, like, what it brings up for you in respect to your chart is because you have no earth in your chart. Things like self-discipline, um groundedness, the ability to sort of wake up day after day, and maybe that's why you resonate or maybe that's one reason why you resonate with me on my Instagram, is because, you're probably like that too, right? Where it's like, it's hard to understand people, but it's very difficult to wake up day after day and just feel like the exact, just the same person, right? It's very affected by energies. So, with North Node in Taurus, it's really asking you to really find, whether it's through yoga, meditation, whatever it is, it's asking you to find that groundedness within yourself. So, yeah, um, that's the goal. And beyond that, I would say that one shadow I would say with Pisces, and just like with the Neptune energy, is like is feeling sorry for yourself, self-pity, and blaming others. Like, especially like with the Venus square Neptune, it's like I said, it can be very idealistic, unrealistic when it comes to relationships, and then when they don't work out, feeling sorry for yourself. It's one way some people are, right? Um, so it really is about having healthy boundaries, and also um, realistic expectations for partners. Now, you do have your Juno right on the descendant, which is very, very good for seeing like the positive side of someone. I think it's a great placement. I think it can truly make you attract beautiful relationships. Um, but yeah, with your Saturn there, I imagine that your first 30 years were not necessarily so easy. I mean, it is 6,000 classes, but still, I imagine that they weren't so easy in the relationship realm. Um, Although I'd be interested to hear. And which reading did you get? You got reading and follow up, right? Just need to check. Yeah. So also, like, if you want to, just while I'm saying it now, so you'll have the follow up. Most people, they'll add they already have the follow up. They'll add the current astrology. I'll offer it to you for 260. It's usually like 370 or 380. So I'll write down, I offered you for 260. And basically what that does is that instead of having 1 hour, just about the follow-up for this, right, where we compare your lived experience to what I said today, and we really bring the whole puzzle pieces together, we add the current astrology, transits, progressions, everything happening now and going forward for you. So it becomes a longer session. I would say average 3 hours, first hour follow-up, and then 2 hours of current astrology. Sometimes it's a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more. I'm trying to get my message across in a more, um, I'm trying to take less time on my readings, even though I'm not doing that right now. um, but yeah, so just let me know. I'll just, okay, add um, offered current for 260 USD especially if you have Cash App, that also. So yeah, let me know about that. I just wanted to tell you. But if you want to just do the follow up, that's fine too. But yeah, so I do want to hear like most people have to, they prefer to watch these many times. But anyways, so moving forward, yeah, so I just think that like you have this like Sun in Pisces, right, where you have this with Jupiter and your Mercury, and you have this real amazing like ability, right? And you really want to give back, like with Vesta and Aquarius, you want to really give back to the people. 12th house North Node, you want to feel yourself as you want to feel the collective energy. You want to feel that oneness with all that is, and sort of lose yourself through your work. Now, I just think that yeah, like the energy of the Gemini, that the shadow of the high energy of that is always learning, right? So it could be like through your relationships or through your clients, always learning. That's a high. Gemini, like just curious about this. But the shadow is starting this, starting this, starting that, starting that, starting this, never finishing, right? And that's where when you lack Earth, that's something that's really difficult, is consistency and not just starting everything and never finishing it. So when you do something you really love, and that's also like that mixed with like having a routine, and doing your best to stick to it as much as you can. Those are ways that you can really do great. And I think having spiritual work when you have no Earth in your chart is one of the best things possible, because I always say Earth is the energy that allows people to sort of wake up each day and feel like a certain continuity with the day before, right? And I'm not saying people with charts like yours or mine can't do that, but it's more of a struggle. There's the like where what your Neptune makes you way more affected by your dreams. So dream journaling could be very, 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 very good. And just by subtle energy, way more affected. So it's good to understand what that is. So yeah, I think just the fact that Uranus is squaring the sun, there is that massive determination to be your individual authentic self, but it can make someone quite impulsive and very, very good for leadership. Very yeah, very it's a fun aspect. But sometimes what I've noticed with that is that they want to be too rebellious to the point where it's like, okay, why are you doing this? I just gave you good advice, but you want to do it your own way so much that you're taking the bad advice, right? You're not taking the advice. So with Uranus, I think that's it. It's just understanding that your purpose with that square is way different than other people's, and just learning to love that about yourself, right? But back to what I was just keep saying is that your Pisces, you're here to be grounded in that energy, but there's a lot of distractions potentially, right? So having the right partner, the right people around you, living in the right place, the right energy of your home, right? These matter. The right cats. And it's not like you're not supposed to be curious. You're not supposed to travel. Yeah, I mean, all that side, you are supposed to. But you can travel physically or metaphorically, right? And that's a big part of what you're doing, is you're gaining this wisdom. So it's awesome you've been able to specialize at that. You probably really, really studied a lot, or really, like learn, like dip your toes in lots of different areas. But yeah, I would just say that to not like, just make sure you don't forget about the Pisces, don't let the Pisces go. It can be tough because we live in a world that's way more aligned with like that Gemini Sag energy, right? That Aries energy. But yeah, just going at your own pace. And I would say, yeah, like even like a Sun square Mars, like there is lots of energy that's very risk, like someone who's able to take risks, right? Um, but then also even with a square Mars as an Aries moon, that can make someone come off as a little bit pushy. Um, so understand the difference between being assertive and being aggressive. Of course, for a Pisces, that's not going to be so much, but that's another one that people with that, like when they work out, when they have something they're doing physically, it's way, way better for them, just on every level. And I think that goes back to your health with like, whether it's Pluto or both, Saturn or both in the sixth, right? It's very good. So let's see. Yeah, I would say like making sure you stay out of like other people's drama, making sure that you kind of like not gossiping, not like being like low vibe, land, right? Not lying, like Black Moon Lilith in Gemini, right? I think of like the lowest energy of that sign. But overall, I think the biggest mission for you is, yeah, I mean, like even with your part of fortune in the second house, right? In Cancer, it kind of speaks to that, right? Finding your own set of values, finding that groundedness within yourself. And with South Node and Scorpio, there's been past lives where you've been traumatized. So you with Pluto, you come in this life with past life trauma that's probably played itself out in some way, right? Like I have the same thing. I have South Node square Pluto, right? So it's like I always said that was the most important thing I ever learned about my own astrology, because it made me understand that the signs of trauma that I showed were not necessarily linked to something that happened in this life, right? Because um like yeah, there can be both, right? But um you're here to chill out in this lifetime, no more, no, enough of the drama. You're here to help people and ground yourself, right? And find your own values that are based off of you and your own spiritual relationship with yourself, right? And also nourishing others. But that's only able to be done when you nourish yourself first. So yeah, I think like staying like in a more high energy when it comes to ideas and or ideals and ideas and philosophies, away from kind of like the low Gemini energy. And when you put these all together, in a high in a high way, like a high vibe way, right? That is someone who can take their Aries moon and allow that part of them to kickstart them, like to get them going, because Mars rules their moon, so their emotions are Mars ruled, so they're action oriented. They like to be in control of their own destiny, blazing new paths. And then they allow their Gemini and Sag energy to balance out, to be where the Gemini part is the data collector, and the Sag part is the part that takes that data and creates philosophies out of it, as opposed to an imbalance where there's too much just like Gemini, like all over talking to this person, that person, learning this, learning that, but not enough tying it together, right? So that's the balance. So if you're able to do that, then all that can spill into your Dharma, your Pisces Dharma. So you have a Pisces Dharma, you have a Dharma about connecting people and connecting to people and connecting people with God in some way. So I always say this to people: don't worry about the money. I know it's hard. Just think about it like this: it doesn't matter. What's done is, you're already on this path, and what's going to happen is going to happen. There's a reason you took it, right? And when and you're I'm sure you're already there, but like it's not about being a million followers, that type of person. It's really like, if you're able to help one person, even one person, on such a deep level, um like that could, like, the metaphysical value of that is worth more than you know making so much money or whatever, right? So and God, and God sees that. So when you're doing good work, right? Like I could easily just say, not to say I'm number one or anything like that, but like I'm like an hour 43. Like I could easily just like stop recording in an hour, right? But I don't, because I want to have everyone. I want to I want to get everything in that I can. You know. So yeah, I think that's just kind of what I'm trying to say, is that if as long as you're headed towards that north node, um and I think another thing about that south node north node, right, is that the 12th house north node could be looked at as sixth house south node, is like moving away from kind of like being a servant. Sixth house of servants, like house of doing working for other people, towards 12th house, which is a lot more karmic spiritual work, right? If you look at it that way, and taking care of your higher karma. So to me, it makes sense. Everything kind of comes together with your chart. So, being able to see the self as a part of the greater whole, right? Um, so yeah. And as I was saying, yeah, it's like the metaphys like really, really like leaning into like, what is the metaphysical value of what I'm doing, right? And just understand that you have this beautiful placement of Jupiter on your midheaven. So in Pisces, and you're headed towards Pisces. So how could this be a downfall? Well, the downfall could come if one is too obsessed with too obsessed with change and not able to be patient. Because with that much mutable energy, right? You have like every mutable sign besides Virgo. Um, so when one I can't get this when one is unable to be patient and expects the universe to give them like a clue right away, like this is what I'm supposed to be doing, they might give up on themselves too fast. That's the thing with having no earth, is that it'll be more difficult for you to like, it makes it more difficult. Like people with a lot of earth, they might have issues if they have no fire. You have fire. Fire is very good at starting, right? um and water is obviously very, very good for this work. But I would say lack of earth can just make someone give up too easily on themselves, right? And especially when you have Neptune squaring your moon and Sun in Pisces, there can be issues with identity and seeing yourself clearly. And I think that a lot of those transits, I mean, I'd have to look at the whole picture, but a lot of those are the more difficult ones are more over, but more or less over, but still. Okay, you have Psyche conjunct ascendant. That's amazing. So that is great for staying young. It's also just very, very makes you very involved with psychology. But yeah, and then you have okay. Uranian, the star of astrology, is quite close to your moon. It's a few degrees away, but it's not far. That's cool. Let's see here. Um, and what else is there? Hmm. Okay, so it's a degree away. And Rigel. So yeah, you have Rigel rising and Fomalhaut with your Jupiter, as I said. So yeah, it's difficult to find information about these, but think of Fomalhaut. It's one of the four real stars, and Jupiter's on it. So yeah, there's a lot. There can be like lots of links with secret societies. Very charitable, very spiritual. It's actually like one of the best things for your relation with the public, right? It says here these names will, with well aspected Jupiters, will, which you do have, will or can excel in their relations with the public. Um, it says lots of favor from the church, from dignitaries of the church. And yeah, it's very good for having a name, right? So like a name in the world. So with Rigel, I believe is Rigel, how many degrees are we away? That's one. That's one of those money ones, isn't it? But we're talking. Oh yeah, oh yeah, it's smack on there. So Yeah. So yeah, Rigel is definitely very much about um yeah, that's one of the wealth ones for sure. Um it's a Jupiter, yeah, Jupiter, Saturn. So there could be legacies, inheritance. I would say like if there is any kind of inheritance or just any kind of contracts, always taking extra care. Yeah. Um, so let's see what it says with ascendant. Good fortune, preferment, riches, and great and lasting honors. A quick rise in life can happen of account on account of strong inherent willpower, a love of action, and a lucky hand in enterprise, like business. A continuous battle to retain an acquired position that has to be waged. Just talks about, yeah, just like really good for concentration and success and reaching goals. Um, if, however, the native is not cautious or has an attack of weakness, failure, and disappointments, a fall from success will follow. And yeah, it's just overall, it's right on your ascendant. So it's just a great one, right? So yeah, always a good let's see what they say here. It's always really hard to find information on here. I have some books, but I don't have them with me. But yeah, it's Orion, so it's like the Orion's belt. Um, yeah, it's very connected to success, honor, leadership, which is great for your career, right? Like people with these are thought to possess characteristics associated with achievement and prominence. Um, and then it speaks here about spiritual protective influence, also like spiritual protection. Um, let's see what it says here with the ascendant. So Regale conjunct the ascendant suggests a person with a refined, harmonious, and possibly artistic or elegant presence. Hmm. This alignment may enhance the individual's charisma and attractiveness. People with this aspect may be drawn to pursuits that involve beauty, grace, and aesthetics. Their external image may project qualities associated with Regale, such as success and sophistication. So that's what you want, You want you want it's a great star. So that's very good. So it really comes down to like, you seeing these things in yourself, right? That's what it comes down to. Now you do have Antares with Saturn. Wow, smack on. Oof. So this one is another royal star, but with Saturn, and you're born at okay during the day. Hmm. So Antares is Saturn. I'm a little bit. Let's see what they have to say. Materialistic, it says. So yeah, to watch out for legal stuff, trouble through enemies. Yeah, it's just tough to find, to find the right sources for that. But Antares is Saturn, damn. Let's see, it has some here. Um, an internal conflict here it is. An internal conflict between good and evil, interested in playing the sinner or saint, swinging between polarities, black and white, often demonizing or sanctified without any good reason. easy to typecast. Okay. Well, you have to take all these with a grain of salt because they're mixed with a lot of other stuff. But because it's in your seventh house, I would say, with relationships, just the need to, yeah, once again, I said many times to just be very careful with those and who you let in as a Pisces. Not just relationships, clients too, enemies, right? It can bring seventh house open enemies, so it can bring strong enemies. So yeah, just like not leaning into the low Gemini Black Moon Lilith energy, which is gossiping and kind of having two-faced energy. So yeah. All right. So besides that, I think let's just see. So yeah, just go over these. So yeah, you definitely want to give like a very um you want to work in a way that betters humanity. Um and you also want to be able to find the higher truths in life through your work. um I think that Palace in the second is good for being very creative when it comes to making money. um and in Cancer, I think that yeah, you're able to really like reflect, like have a lot of intuitive insight into your how you kind of strategize in your life and your way of kind of thinking and yeah, and kind of moving forward. So yeah, like your emotions have a they can really guide your opinions and thoughts. But it's also very good for being a good listener and connected to yeah the family and all that. So yeah, part of fortune, like I said, it's your flow state, second house Cancer. It's also very good for family. Um, and if you have kids, but yeah, just detaching from other people's values or ideas of what's important, in creating your own, like your North Node in Taurus, right? Sirius is with the IC in Virgo. Sirius, think of it like a second moon sign, but not even close to as strong as important. But sometimes I like to ask people like, what's your Sirius and what's your moon, right? So Sirius Virgo people, they like to perfect their skills. They like people who they feel nurtured when other people help them, you know, get closer to like closer to their goals, and they like to have routine. They feel nourished by routine and health and all, good health and all that, right? Um, and on the IC, I mean, that can make you, yeah, very, very good caregiver. If you're a parent, like just that parental role being very important. You also have Moon trine Saturn, which is, like very good for that as well. It's also very good for inner self-confidence. So not you lack the Earth, but these Saturn trines are very, very fortunate, right? Um, so yeah, it's someone who can definitely like work hard to kind of build solid foundations in their life. And also Venus trine Saturn. That's another great one that's actually a great one for money. That makes someone who can actually be intelligent, and it kind of goes against what I was saying before. Like Venus square Neptune, money can be here one day, gone the next. But here, I think another thing with North Node and Taurus is like, it's not like money is like all that matters, right? But it's like, having that level of groundedness in that way too. But I think in love, Venus trine Saturn, that's a great one for being loyal. So it goes against a lot of those commitment issues I talked about potentially. Someone who's dependable, who's dutiful, stable, and also is great for forming like business partnerships. But yeah, who can really it's like the glue and synastry that holds relationships together long term. So yeah, the fact that yeah that this was on your IC, that the series is on your IC, I think that can just speak to another aspect would be, if there is any perfectionism in your family. Like I don't really see that with Saturn, but yeah, just once again, not judging yourself on other people's based on other people's ideas of what's important. So Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, 2 hours, of course. It's been a pleasure. So yeah, let me know if you want to do. I highly, highly recommend doing the adding the current astrology, the follow-up. I'm not really sure how long I'll be in the US, but um, at least till the 18th, but probably longer. But just let me know and we can schedule you in either way. But yeah, most people like to take their time and watch it a few times. I try to keep it more obvious. I'm trying not to, I did do 2 hours, but I'm trying not to go crazy, crazy, crazy. But anyways, hope you enjoyed and I'll talk to you later. And thank you for all your support. All right. Ciao.